In this video, we will be discussing the infamous car bomb scene in which Robert De Niro portrays real life Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal, particularly the steel plate that was supposedly factory installed by GMC in 1981. Was it really there? Let's go find out. Frank Rosenthal will be placed beneath the microscope over the next 15 minutes, and we will take a look at who he really was and what he was like in real life versus the movie Casino. We will uncover who may have wanted to eliminate Rosenthal, and we will investigate why they wanted him dead. Who actually set the bomb beneath Rosenthal's Cadillac? We will look into this as well. If this was an attempted mafia hit, what boss ordered it? What city? Kansas City, perhaps. Maybe Milwaukee? Hear first-hand testimony as we investigate what really happened the evening of October 4th, 1982. Ladies and gentlemen, we will discover if there was indeed a steel plate located beneath Mr. Rosenthal's 1981 two-door Cadillac Eldorado. We will examine the car and the records from the General Motors archives to see if there was a factory-installed metal plate. Was it a heat shield for the catalytic converter, or was it a stabilizer that was realized after production began? In this video, we are going to look beneath the same make and model Cadillac for ourselves. Welcome to Mob Vlog. Let's begin by gaining a better understanding of who Frank Rosenthal was. To do so, let's listen to what Frank Cullotta experienced.
Lefty was a braggadocious, blowhard Jew. So I stood away from him. The next time I seen him, he was driving that Cadillac, and he had this, pink suit that looked like a pink suit to me, with a brown hat. He was at Tony Roma's, and he had people with him this time. And he was eating his ribs. He liked to go to this joint. He knew I was. No eye contact, nothing. Then I seen him in the Jubilation. Tony and I were in there. Not like in the movie where Tony says, "Look at this Jew. He don't say hello." He's not supposed to say hello to Tony or me. So he comes into Jubilation. Now with Oscar, he comes in there with Gene Cimarelli and a few other guys that work for him, and some showbroads. And his old lady, Jerry, the one he married. They sit at a booth. No acknowledgement. We don't give them any. They don't give us any. Am I upset? Is Tony upset? No. It's the way it's supposed to be. Unlike the movie. Movie, you exaggerate. Casino. So, the next time Lefty's name comes into my ears is when the Chicago outfit was asked to investigate him because they thought Lefty was a potential informant, and Kansas City hated him. Kansas City wanted him dead. Chicago said, "We can't do that. He's our point man. We'll investigate it." They said, "Well, who are you going to use to investigate it?" And they said, "The little guy." That means Tony. So they put Tony on it. I get a call from Tony. We meet in the parking lot and we're talking with our hands over our mouth. Because at that time, we had agents following us 24/7 and lip readers. He says to me, "Are you up to whacking the Jew?" I know what he means. And I know the Jew he's talking about. The only thing that comes into my mind is, this guy fucking crazy? He wants us to kill Lefty because he's afraid once Lefty finds out that Tony's going to bed with his wife, he tells the Chicago outfit, Tony's dead. So he wants to react soon. So I said, "Tony, I can handle it. Me and my crew. It's going to be a little hard. We'll have to roll up on him in the street and shoot him." "No, I need 2 weeks. I'll set him up." When I set him up, you kidnap him from me, you'll bring him to the desert. Joey Hansen and Paulie. He said Joey and Paulie. I knew he was talking about. Joey Hansen and Paulie Sherrill. They already had dug a hole in the desert. You bring him there, either you kill him or they'll kill him. They'll bury him, take his car, dump it at McCarran Airport. At that time, there was no cameras. Looked like Lefty blew the sack, left down. That's fine. A week later, I got to go back to Chicago to bring some money to the boss, one of the acting bosses, Joe Ferriola. I bring him the money. He sits me down and he asks me, have you been hearing rumors that Tony's gone to bed with the Jew's old lady? And I lied. I said, no, that's bullshit, Joe. He said, I knew you'd tell me the truth, Frankie. I know Tony's got more brains than that. That's when he liked Tony. When I got back to Vegas, I told Tony. And Tony asked me what I said, and I told him, and that was the end of that. Lefty was the government informant.
In case you don't know who Frank Cullotta was, let's listen to what Nicholas Pileggi said about Frank's input for the 1995 blockbuster hit Casino.
There would have been no Casino movie, and probably not the good Casino book without Frank Cullotta.
Let's get back to Frank Rosenthal's fateful night when his Cadillac was blown up in the parking lot of Tony Roma's restaurant in Las Vegas. To put a few more pieces together, let's listen to Mr. Gary Jenkins and his thoughts about who put the bomb under Frank Rosenthal's Cadillac. Gary Jenkins is a former police officer who is best known for his work as a detective in the Organized Crime Division of the Kansas City Police Department. He is also the host and producer of the very popular podcast, GanglandWire.com.
Lefty Rosenthal and the car bombing and Nick Sevilla, the connection. Because Frank Cullotta always said that there was a connection there, and it was possibly Nick Sevilla, and maybe they found out that Lefty Rosenthal was an informant, and because of that, they thought, but he's got to go. What are your thoughts on that, Gary?
Oh, I'd have to agree with my friend, my late friend Frank Cullotta. You know, I've listened to a lot of the wiretaps and some of the microphones, read the transcripts, and there was a lot of discussion about Lefty Rosenthal. There was about how much trouble he was causing, how much heat he was bringing down from the Gaming Commission, and how the Bureau was going to be right behind the Gaming Commission. With Lefty had this ongoing battle, court case with him. The famous confrontation he had with Harry Reid, who was the chairman of the Gaming Commission, and it was all over the place. And Nick Sevilla, actually, one time, there were several times that they mentioned that he might be a stool pigeon. Those guys, they don't call him a snitch or an informant or anything. They always call him a stool or a stool pigeon. So they talked about he could be a stool pigeon, and he was, one thing Nick Sevilla didn't like was he was threatening Harry Reid with some kind of exposure. Now, the only thing he would say was that you had lunch with me one day, and Harry Reid said, I don't remember, I had lunch with a lot of people, but they did not like that he was threatening to expose Harry Reid and bringing heat on Harry Reid. So Lefty was also trying to blackmail the new governor, who was just Bob List, who had been the attorney general and been all over Lefty trying to get him kicked out of the casino, and he got elected governor. And during that election, he told Joe Agosto that he was going to get a prostitute to sign an affidavit that this guy Bob List had slept with her, or he had slept with him. So, I don't know. That's the one famous line. Nick Sevilla, old school guy, more sophisticated than all the rest of them put together. I think sometime he said, he's going to get a punta to do what? He said that went out with high button shoes, man.
So was Frank Lefty Rosenthal just as particular as Robert De Niro portrayed him? There is a very famous scene in which Lefty demanded to the chef an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin. Let's hear a story about giving Lefty a haircut. This is Frank Cullotta's brother, Joseph.
But I wanted to start by asking you about the time that you met Lefty Rosenthal.
The first time I met Lefty, Tony brought him into the shop. He said, "Joe, this is my friend Frank." It was probably like 1973 or 4. I'm not exactly sure. He's just my friend Frank. He says, "Give him a haircut." I said, "Okay." I took the blow dryer. I blow the hair off the chair. I said, "Okay, you can sit down." He goes, "Now I want you to take a wet towel, a damp towel, wipe the chair, then take a dry towel and wipe the chair." I look at the guy like he's nuts. I blew the hair off. I says, "I blew all the hair off. You could sit down." He says, "Take a damp towel, wipe the chair, take a dry towel." I'm thinking, who is this guy? I didn't know who he was. Tony goes, "Joe, do me a favor. Wipe the chair like he asked you." I said, "Okay." So I wiped the chair. So he really was that anal, Lefty. So he sits in the chair. I cut his hair. Nice man. Gave him a haircut. And I think I cut his hair maybe 2 more times when he'd come to town with Tony. And I always tell my customers that whenever they would come in, like all the kids that were infatuated with all the gangster stuff, I would tell them stuff about it, Lefty, and they'd always, when they'd come in, they joke with me. Take a wet towel, a dry towel. So that was the story.
Now that we understand what Frank Lefty Rosenthal was really like, it seems quite possible that this bloke may have caused a couple of these here, Kansas City, to get their knickers in a twist. Speaking of knickers, Tony Spilotro was getting into the Jew's wife's knickers, and that was a big no-no. If you're involved in organisations like this, there are unwritten rules about what you cannot do. And this is one of them. Maybe there was someone else that wanted this blowhard narcissist dead. I mean, this here, Jagoff, might have had some other enemies. We don't know, but maybe Frank Abala Steri ordered this hit. We hear that he got pinched on the telly, telling one of his sons that he was going to take pleasure in getting rid of Lefty Rosenthal. We don't know if he was the responsible party, but if he was, boy did he bugger it up. John the Bulldog Drummond had a chance to interview Frank Rosenthal, and during the interview, the Bulldog asked Lefty who did he think attempted to kill him or who he thought may have ordered it. Lefty replied, quote, "It would be purely speculation on my part. I wish I knew who did it." Let's now hear from Frank Cullotta and hear his final thoughts on who is responsible and why they failed. Then we will finally learn whether or not there was a steel plate beneath the 1981 Cadillac Eldorado.
Who blew Lefty's car up? I said this 150 times on my tour. I do this tour and I bring them to the location.
Don't forget, during your next visit to Las Vegas, be certain to take the Vegas Mob Tour. Hear the real stories, visit locations, and meet the seedier side of Sin City. Sit in the same location Lefty did that fateful night and hear what happened. Visit Tony Spilotro's house and many other mob-related locations. Be sure to visit VegasSpecialtyTours.com for more information. Use promo code MOBVLOG for a 20% discount.
I've been asked by several law enforcement agencies, from the day his car was blown up to today. I could only tell you my belief, my ideas as a guy that was in that underworld. I believe it was Kansas City. I do, I actually do. And I know it wasn't Lefty's wife or biker crew. They got all the money they needed out of her. She would have had to collect on the insurance policy on him, $2.5 million or something. Chances of that happening are slim and none. Even these bikers knew better than that. Chicago outfit. All the bosses were in jail. Come on. They were in jail. You think these guys that were going to take over were going to revenge for their going to jail? They didn't make no money. I know the way the Chicago outfit worked. They were glad to get rid of them. Now they could run the Chicago outfit. Kansas City, these guys were greaseballs. They stuck together, man. Their guys would look out for them. I believe in my heart, Kansas City. They said Pelisteri, Milwaukee. No, I don't believe that. Kansas City. I know them guys. I knew them slightly. I didn't know them that well. I pulled a couple robberies with them, with Tony Spilotro, Saint. You know, we went out there and we pulled some jewelry store robberies. Years and years ago. Tough crew, tough old guys. That's my belief. I called it too. I said it was a remote control bomb. FBI didn't know. After I showed them and told them how it was done, they put two and two together, and it was as I said. It was a remote control bomb. How did he live? As I said in my tour, he never was in the car. The door was open. Again, I'll repeat it. When you open a can of peas, whatever you got in the can, it's a round can. It's got a top, a bottom, and a wraparound side. Wherever the weakest spot is, it's going to open. If it's open, that's where everything's going to blow out of. His door was open. He never did shut his door. Okay? That's how he lived. It blew him out of the car. I told them in the movie Casino, but Marty, he's the director, he wanted to do it this way, more theatrical. The flame in the dashboard. If that bomb was in the car, it'd be specks, pieces of meat left there. There wouldn't be nothing left of them. Nothing. I'm sure they used a round canister, about that big there. It looked like a soup can. Got two holes there and a hole here that runs through. You stick the cap in there. When that cap goes off, boom, it's all over, baby. It's all over. That's my belief.
So, about the metal plate. It turns out that according to MotorTrend's Mythbusters, they located one of these 1981 Eldorado classics and ripped it to shreds in search of a steel plate, and they found diddly squat. They then turned to the GMC records for that model and make and found no steel plate installed during manufacturing or aftermarket recalls. The only recalls are for some miscellaneous nuts. We hope that you found this video fascinating and fun. Please hit the like and subscribe if you fancy more content